Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Tuesday morning. Hence, Kermit is in the house and he's happy to be green. I don't know why this light behind me is acting up. There we go. That kind of fixes that. But yeah, welcome aboard. Not a whole lot to talk to really. I was looking at the press conference like before going on air, and it's like 85 questions about Mo for the most part, in terms of him winning Ballon d'Or and like what he does and stuff like that. It's almost like I was trying to get a session where he just constantly goes on and on praises Mo, which is fine and dandy, but I thought there was like going to be a lot more questions. I know they did address the how this team will react to Newcastle and keeping the feet on the ground and stuff like that. I love how he mentioned the Nottingham Forest game again. That's going to be bugging him even when we win the title. Okay, this light in the background is really getting to me. I don't know why it's so like hazy back there, but yeah, I think listening to him. And I think we talked about this, like, I think after the Manchester City game in the post match, we do expect this team to be a bit more grounded and kind of, take things as they go, be professional. A lot of guys on this team know and have been in these title races. Good morning, Cersei. So they know, like, how this goes and what to do. I think, though, to be honest, usually, I think the difference now is we always could look in the rear mirror when we had the leads in the past, and we were like, ugh, like, like somebody was like really coming down on us. And I don't see that's happening right now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what's tomorrow in that sense. Good morning, Joshua. How's it going, man? I think it's like, tomorrow is a big day in that sense. I know we say this every match day, but because I do feel like this is the one that I thought Arsenal was going to lose points on, not the other way around. So I think Forest away is where they can lose points, and you beat Newcastle at home, it's then totally over. And I think Arsenal just like throws the towel and says, okay, well, it's Champions League time, I guess. Because right now, we were talking about this last time on the Monday Night Podcast. It is possible to, like, open the door a little bit. Like 2 weeks ago, everybody was like, you guys already won the title and stuff. Well, then we got 2 draws and everybody was like, you guys are bottling it. And they still like started getting excited about it. But now they're back to the default settings of, yeah, you guys going to win this. I think the City win away was the one that kind of did it for everybody, because it's not only 3 points. It's not like winning away at like Palace or Brentford or something like that. I mean, when we beat Bournemouth away, it was kind of a big deal. So beating City away, where we have not done it in like almost a decade or whatever, that was more of a statement win at the same time. It was a win that said we're not having this, like, everybody was hoping that we were going into this ruts where we're not going to be able to perform well and stuff like that. I think, when we had that performance on top of that, the way we won as well. I mean, like Josh says, like the win was huge. And I think the manner it was done in makes it even more impressive, because it was pretty dominant. It wasn't like a last minute goal where we escaped or hanging out for dear life like the Wolves game or something like that. It was like so convincing and composed that that makes a bigger excuse me, that makes a bigger statement, I think, especially for the guys who are chasing you and saying, ugh, because if they thought, oh wait, they're slipping, and like getting hopeful, we just got to get our 3 points over here and we're going to catch up. Well, first of all, they can get their 3 points, and they know their own goal scoring issues and stuff like that, and then they see us win a game like that, automatically it's kind of like really devastating, I'm sure, for them. So welcome aboard, everybody, this morning. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and all that kind of stuff while you're here. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. If you have not dragged somebody by the ear yet, go out there, grab somebody by the ear and bring their butt over here as well. The biggest talking point, and I think like the entire Discords, and I didn't get a chance to read, and at this point it's probably going to be too late for me to get a chance to read all the comments about it, but Carragher's comments about AFCON is the conversation now. So okay, here's where I'm at with this. First of all, Carragher loves this stuff. So he's basically, what he said is going all over the place. Everybody's talking Jamie Carragher. So I mean, in media, everybody is watching probably the clip of it and stuff like that. And then sadly, at this day and age with the media, that's what they're really after. They have to say something that's going to be like, what? So they either have to be like entertaining or they have to say something outrageous to get that. But here's the thing. I mean, in some ways, I don't agree that it's not the whole argument, this is what was stupid about the argument, is the entire argument is Ballon d'Or, right? And in the past, first of all, it's such a freaking cheesy award that has been given to like Messi and Ronaldo even when they were like sleeping, and it's just so I don't put a lot of I really don't care, but I do, we do want our players to get it. I think the only time I have ever watched, and mark my words, I will not watch it again, even if Mo is up for it. I'll just follow it on Discord. Somebody will tell me if he won. That's the only time I watched that award ceremony. It's the cringiest events of all time. I hate any and all award ceremonies. I think they're like all extremely cringy and like especially like stuff like Grammys and Oscars. I just don't. It's a bunch of guys, a bunch of people kind of it's gross. But anyway, so I'm not an awards show guy anyway, and I was watching the one with when Van Dijk was going for it, pretty sure. And never again. I have to say it's a lot cringier. Maybe because we don't see these guys like players and stuff like that in this context as much, as opposed to, Grammys and Oscars and stuff like that. Maybe you're a bit more used to seeing those people in that context. But yeah, it is like just above and beyond cringy when you have these players doing certain things, saying things and stuff like that. So won't watch it again, but I know, it does mean a lot, obviously, to the players. So that's why we would want our player to win. And I would want Mo to win. So, and really, right now, when you look at it, the whole argument should have been like, obviously, the guy, you can be the best player, which, people go around and say, oh, this is the best team sport and stuff like that. But then the guy who doesn't win is somehow not eligible to be able to, win Ballon d'Or. I mean, they're eligible, but they never win. They got to be able to win something, right? So the award for the best comments, no, they're not. They might be. I wouldn't know because I'm not gonna watch it if there is Cersei. So I'm sorry. There might be an award show out there that somebody Gally can host it or something like that, but I will not be taking part. I'll see the results afterwards. I think, my thing with that is I understand they have to win something. Well, if he wins the Premier League, I think, that's a huge thing by itself, right? The Champions League, yeah, if he won it, I guess the only thing is like Rodrigo, I think is the other name being thrown around, right? Like I don't know who you'd be going against in terms of names, but not Rodrigo, Rafinha, right? Rafinha. So if Barcelona wins La Liga and the Champions League, would he have a leg up on Mo? That's I think when the conversation came for major tournaments, right? Because I did watch that bit, and I honestly did not think much of it, but whatever. I mean, if you're looking for something to get offended by, which everybody is these days, there you go. And AFCON came up. I guess my whole thing is like, and then Carragher said, AFCON is not a major tournament kind of a thing, and of course, they're like, what? Which really 10 years ago or if somebody said that, I don't think they're like, what? Because it's suddenly like everybody's like, oh, make sure you don't offend these people, you don't offend these people. AFCON, if you rank tournaments, is under, for example, the Euros, correct? I mean, it is for me, and I don't know because, and I'll tell you guys why. I mean, there's multiple reasons for it, but I'll tell you guys why. I mean, it goes, for me, it goes World Cup, Euros, Copa America, and AFCON. And I'll be honest, like I watch, it's soccer. I'm gonna freaking watch it anyway, right? So that's why, and I'll tell you guys like the reason why I don't consider AFCON. I consider, I mean, it's a major tournament, so like debating that is kind of stupid. But in terms of like quality of major tournaments or importance of major tournaments, at least to me, it's a lot lower than the other ones. But let's go back to the arguments in the first place. The arguments over there should not be, well, AFCON is not a major tournament. It's like, Vini is not going to be in AFCON anyway. So, and there's no Copa America this year, right? Copa America was last year. So there's no other major. I was actually thinking about that. There's nothing like, major happening. Yes. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. That it was not as like they just play amongst themselves. Really, no one cares. So it's not like Vini is gonna go win that or Rafinha is gonna go win that. So it's like that's kind of like is automatically eliminated. Will it be, because Mo doesn't win AFCON or something like that? Will that be held against them? I mean, I feel that is like so stupid. Now we want the guy to carry his team across a tournament as well and stuff like that. How many times? I mean, like they kept passing out to Ronaldo. I mean, he's won like the Euros, right? But it's not like he was going around and winning every freaking like World Cup and Euro and stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot about. I mean, the numbers are freaking ridiculous for Mo. So I just don't understand. I wouldn't understand an argument against it. We are kind of projecting, right? We're actually, what, 3/4 of the season in, or 2/3 or whatever it is. So you have another 11 games. So we're kind of projecting, and I think it was like Sky Sports that showed like the projected numbers based on what he's done so far, and it's like every goddamn record on earth in terms of goals, assists, and stuff like that. So if he can keep this up, or even if he is close, I mean, the numbers are going to be ridiculous, and it's going to win the award itself. I'll tell you why I don't I don't enjoy AFCON as much. Because one, I had a lot of people when I was working in the city in Chicago. I mean, I used to talk to, it was kind of like a melting pot of a store, right? So I had a lot of guys from like Nigeria, Ghana, and stuff like that working, and you hear all these stories. There's so much. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, having an international tournament, Sergi, like you're going against another guy, right? So it's not like he can be like, I want AFCON. It's like you're not even playing in it. So it's like, how is that going to give you a leg up? I mean, I guess it would seal the deal, but not winning it, I don't think kind of like takes you out of it, because the other guy can't win it either. So like it's something that I don't have on my resume, but you don't have it on yours either. Whereas, yeah, I guess if he won it, it'd be a big deal. I think the thing with AFCON is there's so much, especially in the national teams. Look, every national team has a little bit of it, right? I mean, I know from Turkey, like the Turkish national team has a little bit of it. Every team has a tiny bits of varying levels of politics like involved in it. But AFCON is a whole different animal when it comes to that, where a lot of teams have all kinds of like issues, and who likes the presidents, blah blah blah, like all kinds of stuff happening behind the scenes. The money is always a bigger issue, and I don't know, like anybody who's more familiar with AFCON kind of can, like, I mean, I guess let me know, like, were they not paying him as much before, so people are trying to get their money's worth now, or maybe because the players are getting so much more in Europe now that they're like, hey, I'm risking that to come here, so I demand more of a money. But always, and I used to hear all these stories, like I say, about like the Ghana national team and Nigerian national team and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, there's so much involved that it kind of makes it a little, what's the word? I don't want to say corrupt. It's not really corrupt. It's more about not as pure. Not that sport is pure anyway, but you know what I mean? Like it's in your face that it's not pure, right? Like when you watch another, maybe the Euros, maybe it's not as in your face that it's all about the money and stuff like that. We all kind of know that behind the scenes, right? Even when we watch the Premier League. But it feels like with AFCON, it's a lot more in your face because it's constantly happening. It's constantly headlines. It happens during the tournament, and like a bunch of stuff like that. That for one. I personally, that's why I like the World Cup a lot more, because you see different styles of play, and I do enjoy, like, that's what I always have enjoyed about the World Cup. Mind you, over the years, it has really changed. I think we had talked about this with the Polish Prince one time, where like growing up, you would watch the World Cup, and it was so different, right? You would have a European team, like a German team, playing a German way, and you would have a South American team playing a South American style. And then you would have like a team from like Africa playing their way. You would have Japan in there. So it was like a clash of styles as well. That kind of really has changed over the years. I feel like that style differences have kind of like really, really gotten less and less and less. One, I think, for example, in terms of like South American teams like Brazil and stuff like that, they've seen that you got to be a bit more pragmatic and not just like go out there like Harlem Globetrotters. Because growing up, it was more about style, and it still is for Brazil and Brazilians and stuff. But ultimately, I think it comes to a point where, like, you know what? I don't care if it doesn't look all that pretty, and there's like only 8 back heels instead of 18, as long as we win. I think that's kind of like over the years have changed the playing styles and got them a lot closer. Football flashback is in the house. It's not even Wednesday. What's going on, man? Sergi says, I agree with you, but like Messi couldn't win the Euros, and that's why Europeans held over Messi. That Ronaldo, that's why it's so stupid, I think, to put that as a requirement for the Ballon d'Or. Like I say, not a requirement per se, but it's considered because, like one guy is in a tournament when it's not. But I think at the end of the day, you're looking almost like the resume you have for the year and what have you won for me lately is what you're looking at. So you're looking at that and giving the award anyway. But I don't know. I find it like really silly. I find the reaction to his AFCON comments really silly. Not calling it a major tournament, I get, but this is when, like, we kind of like go out of our way to go like, no, that is just as good. Is AFCON quality really just as good as the Euros? Like, who's really going to say this over here? Because are you saying if we switch teams around, which teams will be more successful where? I mean, I think that, like I said, that's why I don't enjoy AFCON as much. Like I said, that whole not being pure thing being in your face. I think the quality is a lot lower overall. There's a bigger gap. And I personally don't enjoy like the overall brand of football at times. But it's soccer. I'm going to watch it. And you're familiar a lot more players now than I think you were in the past with AFCON. But if you're listing major tournaments, and if you're telling me you put AFCON along with Euros, I don't know. I almost feel like you're going out of your way to say that, because I would venture to say it's not that case for a lot of, and you could obviously look at people outside of Europe and outside of Africa to make it even. Obviously, the Africans are going to say AFCON is huge. Obviously, Europeans are going to say Euro is huge. But it's something that didn't need to be said. But this is what I hate about this. Like, when people say what they think, we have started like really punishing for him. I think he doesn't mind the can of worms. Kara has done a lot more other stuff that, could have affected his career, blah, 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 than saying he doesn't consider AFCON a major tournament. And I think, like I say, maybe at that point, like it's a tournament, but not a major tournament kind of a thing is what he was trying to say, I think. But because I didn't watch the continuation. I know the other guys kind of like jumped on him and, made it sound like they're like the biggest AFCON fans suddenly. But they're not. Like, you just kind of, I don't know. I feel like people sometimes go out of their way to make something politically correct stick, because you go ask any of those guys on the panel who jumped on Carragher, you ask them before the show or at any time when they're not on camera, they would have poo-pooed AFCON over like Euros and World Cup and all. Obviously, the World Cup, I think that goes without saying. But so, like, obviously, when the cameras are on, everything is different. But I mean, I'm telling you guys my personal thing. Like, I will watch it. It's soccer. I turn it on and watch stupid. I watch that. Well, by the way, Major League Soccer is something great to fall asleep to. But I watched even like Major League Soccer the other day. I'll freaking watch college. It's like I'm a soccer junkie. So it's not going to, like, I'm going to watch it anyway if it's on. And let's face it, like, everybody's like, oh, look at the AFCON viewership numbers. Well, you take everybody's freaking leagues away and say, well, you want soccer? There is this. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I hate broccoli, but, if you say no lunch for you for a month, there's some broccoli over there. I guess I'm going to have to freaking eat the broccoli. So I think those viewership numbers are really skewed and not fair to look at because of the timing of it. You're taking everybody's soccer at the time, like, like the Christmas time and stuff like that, where everybody's really into it. The fixtures are getting tight and stuff like that. So you're used to that. You're suddenly taking that away. And then you're like, how about this for soccer? Then you can watch this. And then everybody's like, oh, I guess it's soccer. I'll watch it. So obviously the numbers are going to be high. So looking at it and saying like, oh, 2 billion people tuned into it last year. Yeah, because they didn't have an alternative to tune into when it comes to soccer. So I think that's not a fair thing. If it wasn't summer, will it be 2 billion? I really don't think it would be, but that's fine. Solo, what's going on, sir? Good morning. Yeah, if you're watching, don't forget, I always forget saying this, but hit the thumbs up, like, all that kind of good stuff. Do share the broadcast if you want. Football flashback, you should be sharing, for example. I like Carragher too. I mean, obviously, we have a closer connection with Carragher over here now in American Scouser because we have supported his foundation, and we will do it again. This year we did the 24-hour potathon last year, raised $5,000. This year the goal is 10. Actually, we're also trying to see if we can do something special with it, but I think this year we'll have a lot more time to prepare. So I'm really hoping we can make a bigger event of it for one. Last year it was kind of like an idea I came up with, and honestly, it was better in a way. We only had 2-3 weeks to get ready, but I think it got everybody going, and it was really, really successful. Something like we're all proud of at American Scouts over here. So, shout out to Gally and Bickler with going with my crazy idea in the first place, but it worked great. But this time, I'm hoping we can get some more bigger names involved in it, more supporter clubs involved in it. I'm hoping, I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups, people like Solo and stuff like that, having people like that involved in it coming on air and hopefully helping us spread the word. So we do have a closer connection to Jamie here. But I mean, yeah, if Jamie says something stupid, it is what it is. But like I say, I know what Sir Z is saying. It's something that didn't have to be said. But when I hate it when somebody says something. We do this with managers all the time. They come to the press conference, they say something. I'm like, I shouldn't have really said that. But then if he doesn't say that, if he just goes out there and just gives you presses play from his press conference from 6 months ago, because he's going to say the same shit over and over again, then we're like, he's not interesting. He's boring. He's not being honest and stuff. Honesty gets punished, unfortunately. And I can guarantee you, Jamie's more than happy because everybody's talking. We're here talking Jamie. I wouldn't see myself talking Jamie on a random Tuesday over here, but we are talking about him because of what he said. Everybody's watching that clip. Everybody will tune into the show now and see what he says in return and stuff like that. So, yes, I mean, that's the thing. And I don't know, but here's what I find funny, by the way. This is gonna go totally off the rails over here, but I got to start bench sell for you. Oh, hold on. We're going to have to do that. Hold on, football flashback. I'm going to get to that. This PC world thing. I love how all of us complain about being in this PC world, over the top PC world, or, not being able to, everybody being maybe. And, I got to be careful with that too, because I don't mean everything that's, something like this, for example. I feel like is obnoxious, right? Somebody being ignorant about somebody else. Yeah, we should be in a PC world then, and people should respect each other. But somebody voicing their opinion that they don't consider a tournament a major tournament for one reason or another, that's when I think the PC world concept kind of gets annoying to me, because he just said what he thought about a freaking tournament. People are making that more than what it is, or trying to make it more than what it is. If he said that about the one over here with Honduras and Costa Rica and stuff like that, I don't think it could have been taken that way, and everybody would yeah, you're right, that's not a major thing. So how is that? It's still yes, and that's the thing, people, I don't think, and I don't know Jamie, personally, but I don't think he meant anything like that. I think everybody is trying to take it that way. And yes, Klopp got it too when he started complaining about the timing and stuff like that. But that's what I mean. People are taking that, and that's why everybody in that panel was like, whoa, we don't want to be associated with this. And they were suddenly the biggest AFCON fans. I guarantee you, half those guys in the panel do not watch AFCON. So, but like you say, we do live in a PC world, so that reaction had to happen for everybody to cover their own asses. So, got a bench Iniesta. Start, bench, sell. Okay, we're going all time. Okay. Damn, Modric, Kevin De Bruyne, Iniesta. This is an interesting one over here. Start, bench, sell. So, sell Kevin De Bruyne. I mainly okay. I'm gonna go start Iniesta, bench Modric, and sell Kevin De Bruyne only because I feel like Iniesta can do a lot more. Iniesta can do Iniesta's attacking is going to be a lot better than Kevin De Bruyne's defending. I guess I'm just going to be basing my thing on that. And I think Iniesta is better than Modric overall. So I'll have him come off the bench for him. That was a tricky one, actually. Yeah, like throw in your votes. Start, bench, sell. Modric, Kevin De Bruyne, Iniesta. That's an interesting one, though. Where did you come up with that, man? So it just says calculate. Yes, we're dead on. Yes, I totally agree. That's what I'm going with as well. Because Iniesta was something, and he could do. Man, Iniesta would be great in this midfield right here, right now. And that's the thing. I really like this midfield profile or what we want, or just Salomola and get Steve. That's interesting. I mean, like for example, that's what I like. I was about to say, like, I do like about this midfield, the profile of the player that fits this midfield. I do enjoy that brand of soccer. Like, probably one of my favorite players right now is McAllister in terms of how he plays, in the physicality he puts into it, despite not having the size, the calmness on the ball, the vision, the professionalism, like awareness of positioning and stuff like that is, yeah, I mean, I think he's a joy to watch. He's very, very underrated and a ridiculous steal that we've gotten because, he's probably worth easy hundreds, I think. And not to mention, the guy has a ton of experience. And you talk to him, he does. I really liked hearing him say, like in terms of like watching, like in terms of like wanting to win. He was talking about the World Cup and stuff like that, and he said like that feeling he had, he wants to keep like getting it, like winning, that feeling of winning something big, kind of a deal. And I really like hearing that in a player, like where they have that drive to keep doing that and stuff like that. So, who's turning 40 in September, by the way? Yes, I did see that. I didn't see the goal. I heard about it. I can't remember where I heard about it, but I saw it on like social media, like somebody mentioning it. It was maybe like Fabrizio or somebody like that, because anybody in Real Madrid sneezes, Fabrizio makes a post as he wipes their nose. But it was probably there where I saw it, but I have not seen the goal. I do love watching that dude as well. Because I think to me that's a guy that knows, like reminds me of like, not style wise, but in terms of like Milner, where he is, um, like he understands his body, his limitations, and plays accordingly and plays extremely wide at a high level. And man, like the dude has a ton of energy. I know they use him very sparingly, so he kind of like loads up the energy. That energy bar probably goes low like really fast, like it was a computer game. But yeah, he's a joy to watch. So I really enjoy watching players like that can kind of do it all. Like they're not like we've seen players in the past who are just an attacking force, right? They're like, oh, look how we can put the ball there, like thread the ball. I love like players who can kind of like almost like do it all and jack of all trades. Like they're not like 9 or 10 at something, but then 6 and like 5 or 7 out of 10 on other things. Like a guy like Modric, a guy like Iniesta is like 8 and 9 at like almost everything. That's what I love about McAllister. I think he's like that as well. So, yeah, Josh says I agree. McAllister is like my unsung hero of the season. I think what I like about McAllister is he is the key to keeping the calm at times. I've mentioned this before. Yeah, only in American Scouser. Yes, I know. Because man, I do miss Millie. I really, really love Millie watching. There are certain players that when I see him, it's your Sadio Mane probably, Serzi. It's Sadio Mane for you, but there are some players where I look and I'm like, man, like I miss that dude. Bobby is another one. Like if I watch old highlights and you watch Bobby, you're like, ah, man, I do miss Sadio too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, with McAllister, I like almost think of him as there are times where he's almost like a point guard in basketball. Like we get into a game at times where it becomes a little bit too hectic, like becomes old school, like more like a club era. We're constantly running and stuff, and he can almost like he's like that point guard that kind of like instead of a fast break, he kind of like slows it down and then calls a play and slowly brings it out. That's what I really like about that. Which midfielder? That is not a fair comparison, man. Come on now. Yeah, that is. I mean, yeah, you're gonna go with the first one, but I think it's not fair because when you mentioned the three names in the first one, we're talking about over a decade of performances we've seen from them. So it's very unfair to compare to the other three who just been a year and a half that they played together. I mean, not even Gravenberg wasn't even playing last year. So I think in that sense it's kind of unfair and almost like impossible to compare those. But hold on, I gotta bring this up so that's because yeah, if you really put that bet on, dude, I don't know, you got a problem because I don't even know if you. I think the fact that we went the way we went against City, and I love when he was explaining the decision making, and he said Jota and Gakpo, and I don't remember him mentioning Nunez, and it was almost like it goes without saying that Nunez is not going to have the positional sense and understanding. If you ever watch like Soboslai when Nunez is playing, just watch. Don't even watch Nunez. Just watch Soboslai with him like just flailing his arms, like, why are you there? Like over here, and they just like running over there and stuff. So I think we knew that we could not do that, and this is why come summer, I really hope that, like, especially with the Champions League coming up, that we are able to rotate a bit more. And I do want Nunez to get a couple more moments, a couple more goals and stuff like that. Hear his name chanted and all that, win a title with us and then go. But I mean, really, let's say Cersei is winning the Champions League now as well. Man, how your nerves change. But even if we don't win the Champions League and stuff, like when you look back at this title, I mean, Nunez's name is going to be right next to Costas or something like that in terms of what they brought. I mean, yes, he's scored. What was that Brentford game that like he scored those goals and stuff like that? But I mean, yeah, I mean, how much of an input or addition is he making to this deal overall? But like I said, I do hope with some rotation and stuff like that, he does get some moments and he does get a couple more goals, especially at Anfield. I mean, we have like 7 of the last 11 are at Anfield. So I do think that's a bonus for him. So I hope he does come in, score a couple of goals, have a bit more, inputs into the season kind of a thing. So he feels more like a ownership of it. He did look a really bummed guy during the City game. I saw PSG over there. Mine went all this way. No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. The PS really, I was more worried, and I would have been worried a lot more last year than I am now. I'm a lot less worried watching what we did against City because my fear with PSG is they have some guys up top that can hurt you. So being able to defend the way we did and not let anything slip by gives me a lot of hope that that's not going to happen against PSG, and we'll be able to control the game and not give them a lot of looks, because I think that's the key thing, because PSG, one, they're not used to defending, and two, they're really not used to the physicality and the competition, because they're in the French league, and this is what has been always their downfall, is when they come over to the Champions League, suddenly it's a huge difference from what you did midweek to the other one. So it's almost like you were playing at like the normal level of a game, and then come to like the Champions League, now you're playing at the legendary level, and the switch is not that easy, and they have not been able to make it there. I mean, for a team that gets the rest and they can rotate all they want, and because of like where they're in the league and what their league is, you would think they should be a lot more successful in the Premier League. Yes, exactly. I mean, like I say, when you look at those three guys, and you say we have so many memories, being so many games, so many performances. So you're judging the first three out of like a huge resume of stuff, whereas the other ones, it's just, and that's what should be scary to everybody. I think is that just is like the first season, these three are actually playing together. My only concern with that midfield would be, I think it might be easier in some ways to find a guy who can come in. Like right now, Endo comes in and it's more of like the defensive thing, right? Like I would not want Endo building play. I would not want. I mean, we've seen Endo receive the ball with his back and stuff, so we don't want any of that. So the current role for Endo is what exactly I had been saying for months suits Endo. Come in the last 20 minutes, put a couple of hard tackles. He has like a ridiculously high defensive awareness, where he can sense danger and he can like be like, oh, they're gonna cut this way. This is where the danger area is and stuff like that. And I think that's golden when you're protecting a lead, and I think that's his role. But I think it might be a bit easier to find players who can come in and do, I mean, not at the level, but not a huge drop off of what Gravenberg and what like Mecca and stuff do. Saboslai has been the tricky one. I don't know if we're going to be able to find people um, who's going to be able to do that. The Fenerbahce Galatasaray game yesterday. Yes. You know what it showed? It showed to me that if the soccer federation was not really on Galatasaray's, riding them, if you will, Fenerbahce would be way ahead because they had a foreign referee for the very first time in a Turkish league game, and it showed. Galatasaray saw like 5 yellow cards, and that's probably what they see in like 10 12 games, because that's the deal. There's so much shadiness that happens in the Turkish league when it comes to Galatasaray. A lot of like political stuff going on because of Fenerbahce and what they stand for and stuff like that, and who's in charge. So a lot of like mess in that sense. But yeah, for like having a foreign referee was like the Slovenian guy who actually refs one of our games in the Champions League this season as well. And you could definitely tell it was a 0-0 draw, very nervy. I really think watching Mourinho on the sideline and watching this team, they really want to keep going further in Europe, and they know that's their thing. So, but that's the thing. Normally, that game, if it was a Turkish ref, Steve, if you watched the game yesterday, yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, like the amount of like, it's one of the biggest, what do they call it, like continental derby or whatever, like it's one of like the biggest, like with the Boca Juniors one and stuff like that. It's probably like the top five. By the way, fun fact, I just learned this yesterday, and it's probably not nice and embarrassing that I just learned this yesterday, but this guy right here, my grandfather, is actually the player who has played the most games in that like continental derby. They weren't calling it that back in the day, but in terms of Fenerbahce Galatasaray games, he is the one who has been played the most in from Fenerbahce. There's a couple of guys from Galatasaray who have played more in that game, but out of Fenerbahce, my grandfather actually has the most appearances in a Fenerbahce Galatasaray game from the Fenerbahce side of things. Yeah, I just literally found that out. Well, I guess it will be yesterday. When the game was on. So yeah, that's cool as hell. That is cool as hell. Yes, he is the GOAT, man. Yeah, he's and that's maybe why, like, like I was like too young, not to mention I was not around, but even after that, like having like seen some footage and stuff like that, but you hear like there was like a documentary, actually my sister did a documentary on him, so you kind of like like hear about some of these older players like talk about him and how he played and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, that's why probably I liked. I'm like a little dude, ridiculously good in the air. Sadio Mane, like, if you will, Serzi. But yeah, like a ton of goals. He was a top goal scorer one time. And, those are the times where they were like keeping official records, kind of a deal. Yeah, like pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I was like pretty impressed to see that. I was like, damn. That's pretty darn cool. Because I did not know that stat actually. Because obviously it only comes up when they play Galatasaray. But yeah, that's all I learned from that. By the way, is that if you have a foreign referee, because here's the thing, we talk about VAR and stuff like that, like your VAR and how we can affect the game and stuff. I mean, a referee can really affect the game through the use of yellow cards. And I think the Turkish referees and the federation have mastered this, where they're, they can not give you a yellow card. They can give the other team a yellow card and kind of like, take care of you, because now that guy is playing on a yellow. You can still be aggressive and press, because whatever tackle you do, you're not going to get carded. So you can really change the game that way with that, because Turkish League has made it, and I really think Premier League should do this as well. The VAR are from like different federations. So, but the key is it might not go to VAR now, because a lot of things you can do on the pitch will never go to VAR. So you can still control the game and, go in the direction you want it to without, even going to VAR, because you can call the yellow cards. You can decide what you call where, and you can be inconsistent in ways that you want and favors your agenda kind of thing. I do have to find it. I mean, when I say footage, I'm not talking like a game or anything like that. It's just like a bunch of guys like running, like a 3 seconds clip kind of thing. Like when you watch like these really, really old ones. But yeah, I mean, he is, yeah. I gotta pull up some like stats next time, and I'm like bring it over, because he does some really cool stats. And honestly, like if you go to Google now, unless they changed it. Let's find out. If you Google Fenerbahce and you go to their Wikipedia page, let's see, because his picture was right on there. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? Because his picture was on there. I can't remember what section it was under, but like as they were going through, like his picture was on there in terms of, because he has a lot of like records and stuff like that. It is an era where they didn't keep a lot of records and stuff like that as well. But he has, I think actually, he's in this photo like receiving a trophy and stuff right now. It looks like they keep changing these pictures over here, but the one where it was solo is not there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty cool ordeal, something I'm proud of, and constantly I can brag about it, and we'll go all the way till tonight's panel show. So, but yeah, not a lot else happening for our neck of the woods for like Liverpool over here. It's now the quiet before the storm in some ways, where we want to make it official. I just do hope, and I do have faith in this team. That is a tough game tomorrow, and that was not a penciled in win, but I am hoping like the leaders, and we talked about it last night on the podcast as well, that I don't, will this team not having a game for a while after this, do we go all out again and, like try it out to everybody and see what they, have them get the win? Or do we just play it safe and not have an injury and stuff after an exhausting game against City? Bear in mind, Newcastle played this weekend as well, so it's not like they're coming out of like a longer rest. But it'll be interesting to see what he does in terms of the lineup. And it really depends if he's going to be able to feel comfortable enough to start or play like Jota or Gakpo and stuff like that too. Side were from Nottingham, really? I've never done one of those. It would be interesting to see. I do know some about it. Like my father's side is actually from like Eastern, and actually they have like Kurdish in them. And actually my mom's side, I mean, these are the old Ottoman days, obviously. So that whole area is Ottoman Empire. People are moving around all over the place. But actually my mom's side is more from like the Balkans, like Romania and stuff like that. So, and that's how I ended up. But that's that's a story for another day. But yeah, like if you look at my like grandfather and like my mom and stuff like that, and actually like the girls, like if you look at Layla looks very much like my mom. It's almost semi scary because you look at some Layla photos and it's like my mom when she was like Layla's age. It's pretty darn scary stuff. But yeah, so that like a lot more like blonde, green eyes and stuff like that, and then I have like my father's traits more like pretty much dark ass brown eyes and stuff like that. Used to be dark hair, but that eventually disappears. Okay, well, that's it for me today. I'll be back tonight with the gang. We do have a full panel, so it should be a fun chat. If you have never tuned into our panel show, I strongly recommend it because it's great banter, good fun, a lot of good chats. I mean, we just posted a clip, so do check that out. Actually, there's a clip out right now where we talk about. Actually, no, that's coming out I think later today. When we talk about like the number nines, the evolution of it, and what we think and stuff. It's awesome to hear like perspectives from like like fans from different clubs. I mean, I remember. I mean, like last week, I was talking about like I was watching a championship game, and it was like so interesting. It was like watching soccer from 2 weeks ago, and Alex from Fulham called me on it that like I've never been in the championship, like my team has never been there. He's like, yeah, it shows, man, because that's what it's not as fun as it looks when you are in it in the championship. So it's interesting to get perspectives from these guys who've been through, like they are through different journeys than the one we're on. But you have like Villa, but you have Chelsea, Newcastle. So we'll talk to him about that, Sully, and see like what he thinks about the game tomorrow in terms of like what's going to happen and stuff. But do tune in for that. 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, and I'll see you guys there. Take care.